Hi, I'm Genesis Jackson,
And I am Quentin Scott.
and we welcome you to Town Talk. Today, we will talk about voter rights and voter suppression. Our special guest will provide information that is important for this election season. Did you know that millennials between the ages of 18 and 30 continue to have the lowest voter turnout of any age group? Less than 50% voted in the 2016 presidential election.
Wow, that means more of us need to vote. So many of us are voting for the first time and need to be assured we are educated on our rights as voters and what voter suppression looks like now and historically.
First up, we have Ryan Richard from the Los Angeles County Register's Office. Welcome to Town Talk, Ryan.
Hey, Genesis. Hello. Thanks for having me here. My name is Ryan Richard from the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder's Office. I work in community and voter outreach, so my job function is specifically to talk to voters like yourselves and explain to you some of the changes that have happened with voting here in LA County. As we all become accustomed to our new COVID protocols, all those things will be in place for our upcoming election here on November 3rd. And with that, I have a short presentation I'd like to present for everyone. That's okay. Our presentation today is titled Voting in the Time of a Pandemic. So I'd like to start with a little overview of LA County. Key things to note, LA County has a total population of about 10.2 million people and covers about over 4,000 square miles. We have approximately 6.1 million people that are eligible to vote in the state of California, but currently only 5.6 million of them are registered to vote. And every day, with voters like you turning 18 and getting a chance to experience that first chance to vote, that number is ever growing. So key things to note with that, at this 5.6 million registered voters, LA County is bigger than 42 other states in the country, which means we face some unique challenges and opportunities when it comes to being creative of how we get our voters out to the polls. So in the past, we had about 3 million voters who actually received their ballot through the mail. With the advent of COVID-19, we've actually increased that to where every registered voter in Los Angeles County will receive a vote by mail ballot. That means in this election, 2020, we added 2.5 million new ballots that are being sent out to registered voters in LA County. This second dot here is something we all become a little bit too familiar with. It's our COVID regulations. And while we have a pandemic, we are allowing individuals the opportunity to vote in person should you choose to exercise that option. In these in-person vote centers, you will be required to wear a mask. Gloves will be available upon request. Social distancing will also be strictly enforced. Now we have 758 vote centers throughout LA County. Some open today on October 24th, and we'll have the majority of them open on October 30th, and we'll go over that a little bit more as we move through this presentation. Fun and exciting thing to note about LA County. In LA County, you have 11 days to vote in person. 11 days to cast your vote. So that's 10 days prior to election day plus election day. So we're for a combined 11-day vote period. In March, our primary, we actually started the vote by mail drop box program. For that program, we had 264 drop boxes all throughout LA County. For our general election here in November, we've expanded that to about 402 drop boxes that are all over LA County. And I'll explain a little bit more about them here. These drop boxes are two different types of drop boxes. The one I see here with the big gray box there that says tampering with this ballot box is a felony. That box is a walk-up drop box. You walk up to it and open the little slot. You can drop your ballot in there. The slot is only big enough for a ballot to fit inside. So that's to prevent any other foreign objects ending up in the box there. On the right side there, you have a drive-up drop box. So that one is cool because you can actually just drive your car right up to that box, drop one in there, and you're good to go. We actually have a box like this stationed out front of the LA County Registrar Recorder's Office at 12400 Imperial Highway in Norwalk. So if you'd like to drop your ballot off there, you can. Good thing to note with these boxes is they are not serviced by the post office. They are serviced directly by the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder's Office, and those ballots are collected daily. So these ballots will go directly to registrar recorder staff, and they'll bring them right back to the office to start their process of being counted. Key things to note with your ballot: you want to make sure that you are signing and dating the back of your ballot. You seal that official return envelope and place all pieces of your ballot back into the envelope. For me, I have about 8 pages that come in my ballot. So you want to make sure all 8 pages are put back into that ballot, so that way it's complete when it reaches the office. So we discussed our drop boxes. That will be about 402 boxes around LA County. Those boxes opened on October 5th. Now, with the vote by mail has traditionally been carried by the USPS, and it's still a viable option for how you can cast your ballot in this election. A couple things to dispel some of the fear or uncertainty around the post office. The LA County Registrar Recorder's Office has been in constant communication with the post office. We meet with them once a week to discuss challenges and concerns around getting mail back in a timely fashion. The post office has guaranteed for election material a 7-day turnaround, meaning from the time you drop a ballot into the mail and the time it reaches back to our office, they are allotting no more than 7 days. They're expected those ballots to get back. In an abundance of caution, the state of California has actually changed the amount of time we are allowed to receive and accept those ballots that are postmarked by Election Day. Traditionally, if Election Day was on November 3rd, you'd have 3 days to receive that ballot in our office for it to be counted. So on November 3rd, the ballot would need to be received by November 6th, and as long as it was postmarked by November 3rd, it would be counted. In this election, that window has been expanded to 17 days, meaning we receive that ballot that's postmarked on November 3rd all the way up until November 20th. We'd still be able to take that ballot and count it. Other point to make with that, if the post office, as they say, they're granting us 7-day window, they will make sure ballots are when they're in the mail, they will be received within 7 days. That would end on November 10th, and we'd still have another 10 days for them to get that ballot in there if there were any issues. So we're trying our best to make voting as accessible as possible and make sure that we're counting all the ballots that you all are casting through the mail. Great system we've partnered with here in the state of California. It's called California Ballot Tracks. So if you've ever tracked a package on FedEx, Amazon, or any other shipping service, you can now track your ballot just like that. It's a simple, easy, quick situation or quick program you can easily sign up for. All you need is your name, your first name, last name, date of birth, and zip code. And Ballot Tracks does the rest for you. It'll send you updates and reminders to let you know to make sure that you cast your ballot first off, and every step of the process, everywhere that ballot is scanned, it will give you an update to let you know where your ballot is throughout that process. So I highly encourage everyone to download Ballot Tracks so you can track your ballot and have that peace of mind of knowing where your ballot is going throughout this process. As I mentioned before, we have an extended voting period here in LA County. So you have 11-day vote centers and 5-day vote centers. So you have over 100 11-day vote centers in LA County, which open October 24th, and you have 5-day vote centers that open on October 30th. For grand total, we'll have over 750 in-person voting locations, not including our flex and mobile locations that will pop up around LA County throughout the vote period. These places, as we call them, strategically placed throughout LA County, they're strategically placed in spaces where we're able to maintain our social distance, make sure that we're able to keep our voters as safe as possible, while still being convenient and accessible to all members of our community. We have some really high-profile locations if you'd like to stop by and check those out. We have places like the Staples Center, Dodger Stadium, LARFC, which are soccer stadium here, and Hollywood Bowl are some of the spaces we're actually able to go out and cast your ballot in person. Hollywood Bowl is an 11-day vote center, meaning you can go there and starting on October 24th, and spaces like the Forum will open up on October 30th. The hours of operation for these sites are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Some may be familiar with the fact that in the past, our vote centers open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Those hours have been shifted back slightly to provide some of our not so early risers the chance to get in there. It's still in the morning, but not quite as early as necessary. People like me, and those of us who get off work at 5, you get some time after work to still be able to get in there. Now, on election day, vote centers are still open for the same set of time. They'll be from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you have the entire day to get out there and cast your vote. And please remember, on election day, if you are in line before 8 p.m., you will be allowed the opportunity to vote. No one will be turned away for the fact that it is too late to get in as long as you are in line prior to 8 p.m. And note, you can always find any of these vote centers, locations, and drop boxes on lavote.net, and they'll search up. You can search by your address, and you can actually find the closest vote center to you. But remember, in LA County, you can vote at any location in LA County. You're able to go anywhere that's in LA County and cast your ballot, so you don't have to worry about being the ones that are closest to your home. These are just some key things we'd like to go over with the ballot marking device. This is a new device that we implemented in our primary election. We like to always stress that even though this is an electronic device, this is not electronic voting. This is not internet voting. These devices are not connected to a network, nor are they connected to each other. I like to think of the devices as a big pin. All they do is mark a paper ballot. So the process for you would work, you come into the vote center, you check in, and that's when you would receive your paper ballot. You won't receive that one until you come into the vote center to actually utilize that ballot in the vote center. You bring that over to the BMD, slide it into the device, and it will pull up your election right there on the screen. You tap each box to make your selections, and then we'll ask you to review each selection to make sure that each thing that you selected was actually what you meant to select. At which point it will ask you to confirm. It'll print out that ballot. That ballot will be printed out in a human readable format, so you can look over, audit, make sure everything is correct. Then you place that ballot back into the device. It will ask you one more time, are you sure? Give you an opportunity to listen to your ballot. Once you're satisfied with everything, then you click it and it casts that ballot and you're good to go. And then you get to move on to everybody's favorite part. You grab your sticker, get on out. The reason we moved over to a device like this is to make it more accessible for members of our community who have limited mobility or are hearing impaired, vision impaired, and gives them the opportunity to vote as autonomously as possible. Also allows us to switch the language so individuals can vote in their native language or change the font size, contrast, anything that we need to make sure that people are able to access this device completely on their own. And that's really the big piece of the ballot marking device, is giving each individual access to the device however they need to. The interactive sample ballot is a completely optional part of our new voting system. This one is similar to filling out your sample ballot booklet. Previously, we got booklets in the mail, which you still receive. You fill it out, bring it with you to the polling place, and you'd be able to mark those when you got there. Now, you go online, access your interactive sample ballot. You can make your selections online, and towards the end of your process, you'll be prompted to receive a poll pass. And you will either receive that poll pass, you can print it out on paper as it's shown there in the picture, or you can keep that poll pass on your phone. Poll pass is simply a QR code, and you'll keep it, bring it with you. When you get to the vote center, you check in, receive your paper ballot, and after inserting that ballot into the BMD, it will ask you a question that says, are you ready to start voting? Or you would answer, I have a poll pass. So you click poll pass, you scan it under the bottom of the device, and it will bring you right to the review page. The reason we did something like this is since we moved to consolidated elections, you may see more races than you would normally. Meaning everyone is all running for office at the same time. So instead of seeing eight races, now you may see 15 to 16. So it can get a little bit more time consuming to tap each button. This device was put here simply as a time saver function. And again, it is completely optional. If you try it out, use it, please send us some feedback. Let us know how you like it as we go through and try to improve on the systems. These are our information around COVID-19, something we've become pretty familiar with over the past couple months. So while all registered voters in LA County will be issued a vote by mail ballot, voting by mail is the safest method, but in person is available for voters who wish to utilize it. Please note when you come to a vote center, you should wear a clean face covering. If you do not have one, one can be provided for you. Gloves will also be provided on request. One big thing to note is while we be in line, every device will be sanitized between each voter, meaning no one will touch something that another voter has touched without prior sanitization. All poll workers or vote center workers will have the proper PPE, meaning gloves, masks, some face shields. We have the distancing plastic screens as well. All these things will be available for you, as well as hand sanitizer on entry and exit. We're doing all these things out of abundance of caution to make sure we're keeping our voters as safe as possible when they're coming out to cast their ballots. Is one of my favorite slides because this is our timeline. It shows us when things open, and as we approach November 3rd, it's great to see this timeline move down. So we started here. September 24th was when our sample ballot booklets were mailed out. October 5th is when we opened our vote by mail drop box. We also opened early voting at the registrar recorder's office in Norwalk on October 5th. October 19th was the official registration deadline. Now that registration deadline was only for vote by mail, meaning if you registered prior to October 19th, you will receive a vote by mail ballot that you can then return through the mail. If not, you will still have the option to register to vote and vote on the same day in person. So LA County, you are able to register to vote and vote on the same day. So if you haven't registered yet, don't be discouraged. You can still come out and cast your vote. You just come in and register while we're there. On October 24th is when our 11-day vote centers opened, and they're open from 10 to 7. And on October 30th, all of our 5-day vote centers will open, also open from 10 to 7. November 3rd is election day. It's open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Make sure you make your plan to get your ballot in and count it before November 3rd. This is our engage page. So this is letting us know where you can follow us on social media. A fun thing with our social media now is it used to be fun pictures of me and my staff doing great events, but fortunately COVID's happened. We don't do that quite as much, but we've come out of it with a great new method for giving you actionable information about voting. So what you'll find on our social media is more of actionable things, where vote centers are, pictures of drop boxes, policies and procedures, things that you'll need to know when you're going out and voting. So it's a great way to find actionable information. LAvote.net is a place you look up your vote by mail drop boxes, look up your vote centers. Also, you can even see a live time wait time on this website. So it's a great space to go in and check for information. And if you don't find what you need, feel free to send an email to voterinfo@rrcc.lacounty.gov, and someone will get back to you to help answer your specific question. And with that, it's the end of me. I'm going to switch back over here for any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. That was great information we can all use. Vote early in the vote early in Los Angeles County at the Norwalk Registrar's office. I noticed that you talked briefly about official drop boxes. How can we identify these boxes?
Oh, Genesis, that's a great question. So the official vote by mail drop boxes are just like the ones that you saw on the image of this presentation prior. They're yellow, blue, and white. They have big letters that lets you know official drop box on them. But the easiest and most effective way to identify these boxes is to check them on lavote.net. Once you log there and look for your drop boxes, if you do not see that drop box, an address on the website, it's most likely not an official drop box. And I thank you again. I'd like to thank you for that question. My name is Ryan Richard with the LA County Registrar Recorder's Office, and thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan. There are lots of ballots. There are lots of ballot measures to vote on in the upcoming election, but we will focus on Proposition 17. Genesis, tell us more about Prop 17.
So, the California Proposition 17 is a ballot measure that would amend the Constitution of California to allow people who are on parole to vote. I personally support this proposition because it denounces the dehumanization of those who've been imprisoned. I believe that they've served their time, they deserve the right to vote and the opportunity to participate in society like anyone else.
Thank you, Genesis. Wow. Everyone, regardless of age, needs to know about Proposition 17.
Yes, we cannot tell you how to vote, but we can give you information that will help you make an educated vote. Now, for our final guest, California State Senator Holly Mitchell, representing District 30. She has come to talk to us about voter rights and voter suppression. We would like the viewing audience to know we extended an invitation to Los Angeles City Council member Herb Wesson, but he was unable to join us. Welcome to Town Talk, Senator Mitchell.
Genesis, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
This is my first time voting in a general election and would like to ask, how important is it to vote?
Quentin, thank you very much for that question. And I understand you're a Fisk man, so you know the long history African Americans have experienced in terms of fighting, literally shedding blood, literally for our fundamental right to vote. You know, I've been an elected official for the past 10 years. And I really struggle sometimes with the question when people say, you know, really, does my vote really matter? Does it count? Because I recognize that every day I make decisions on behalf of the 1 million people I represent in the 30th Senate District. And I think they should want to and have a burning desire to make sure that they are electing people who have their best interests at heart. I mean, I make decisions, for example, about the fees that Genesis pays at a UC campus. We make decisions about your high school graduation requirements if you graduated from high school in California. We make decisions about how many students in your classroom, K through 12, and at what age you can drive. So those are decisions that impact every aspect of your life, whether you realize it or not. So voting is your opportunity to make sure you're electing people that will have you front of mind every day that they make those kinds of decisions.
Wow. Well, I must say it's truly inspiring to see a strong Black woman in such a position of power. So thank you.
Thank
I
you,
too,
Genesis. I'm holding the seat, waiting for you and Quentin. I'm just the temporary
yes,
holder of the seat, getting it ready for you too.
that's great to hear. I too am a first time voter for a general election. What are my rights as a voter?
So that's a very good question and an important one. And I hope that you will go to the registrar of voters, whatever county you're going to vote in, be it Los Angeles County or wherever, to make sure you understand what it takes to register, to verify that you are registered, and to understand the voting process. This year is a unique year. You guys are lucky being new voters in 2020. Because based on actions taken by the California legislature and supported by the governor, every registered voter in California is going to receive an absentee ballot, going to vote by mail. This was our effort to try to make sure that the California electorate stayed safe during this public health pandemic. So whether you are a permanent vote by mail, BBM person like I vote by mail every election, or not, everyone's going to get a ballot in the mail. And I think people who've never voted by mail might be surprised when they get this envelope and not recognize it. So everyone must know if you're registered. The registration deadline, by the way, I believe is October 19th. But if you are already registered, you should have probably already received your ballot in the mail. You have to fill it out. And what's important also to remember is you have to sign the outside of the envelope. Your signature must match your signature on your voter registration card. That's how the registrar validates and makes sure that you are indeed the person who registered for voting security. And so your rights, if you're registered, is to be able to cast a ballot. If at any point you don't get a ballot, if you make a mistake on your ballot because you can't white out or cross out, you have to call the registrar of voters or go online to get information about how you get a new ballot and what your fundamental rights are. But as we hear about voter suppression all over the country, it's really important that everybody take a moment ahead of time and come up with a voting plan. If you're not sure if you're registered at your current address, if you haven't received your ballot, go online, get the information, or call. Don't wait till November 3rd to say, I don't think I got that ballot in the mail. Check early. That's why we're asking people to have a voting plan to make sure you're registered, that you got your ballot. And after you complete your ballot, sign the envelope, you've got three options. You can mail it through the United States Postal Service. No stamp is required. Government is paying for it. Two, you can drop it off at these brand new voting boxes. They're bright yellow and blue. I dropped mine off yesterday, so I saw one in real life. They're wider than a regular blue mailbox, and they've got all this information, and the registrar recorder has guaranteed us that they'll be safe. So you can drop it off there, or you can wait and take it to a voting center once the voting centers open. I believe maybe the third week or so of October through Election Day, November 3rd. So those are your three options to make sure that your ballot gets turned in and counted.
I heard you mention something about voter suppression, and the news has been reporting instances of voter suppression. So my question is, what is voter suppression and what does it look like?
There is this amazing YouTube video that I just happened to see yesterday that the actor Samuel L. Jackson has recorded, because it takes us back. I think we started hearing about voter suppression most recently with Stacey Abrams, the Black woman who ran for governor in Georgia last year. She was running against a man who was the Secretary of State, who was in charge of voting for the state. And there was some real concerns about people who thought they'd registered, who had been dropped from the voting rolls for no real reason. But voting suppression goes back to our early history as Black people in this country, when after we fought after Reconstruction for the right to vote, then these rules and new laws would be put in place to make it more difficult for us to vote. During the Jim Crow era, there were poll taxes. If you didn't have the money to vote, that you couldn't. They put these tests, tests that followed no rhyme or reason. You had to, guess the number of peanuts in a jar before you could vote. Just, blatant efforts to suppress the vote of the Black community. And you bring that to current time when state legislatures across this country have passed rules that require a certain kind of a photo ID. All of these roadblocks, if you will, to block our access to our fundamental right to vote. And in this YouTube video that I hope you all will take a look at, I'm sure you can find it if you Google it, Samuel L. Jackson said something so profound to me. He said, you have to think about it. Your vote must really be powerful and mean something when you consider how hard they work to keep you from having the right. And it never had occurred to me quite that way. When people say, oh, my vote doesn't count, it doesn't mean anything. It really must, because for generations, the white supremacist ideology and those who follow that have worked very hard to prevent us from voting. So from my perspective, I don't know about you, when I know I have a right and there's a group of people who want to block me from exercising that right, that just invigorates me all the more to make sure I vote every election.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell, for joining us on Town Talk.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an important conversation. And I hope that we can, outside of election time, continue to have these conversations about civic engagement, what public policy looks like, what the budgeting process looks like, and how it impacts your life every day. I'd love to come back if you invite me.
Thank you to all of our guests who spoke with us about these important topics. We also would like to thank our collaborative partners, Center of Hope Church, Pastor Jeremy Dixon, Plan for Hope, Theta Mu, Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Iota Zeta Lambda Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, and Inglewood Pacific Chapter of the Links Incorporated.
Thank you, viewing audience, for joining us. We
We hope all of the information we shared was informative and useful.
And don't forget, if you choose to vote, tag us in a hashtag, hashtag GNQ vote. And we're gonna like it and comment and do that. So thank you for watching Town Talk.
Thank you.